So we are at an interesting point in pop culture. I'm sure there's a lot of other more interesting things happening at this moment. But Hurry Up Tomorrow was, I feel like, one of its first moments, because in this film we have famous performer The Weekend giving a sort of reflection story. Um, I'm not sure how accurate the details are in what they decide to show on this. I'm pretty sure they, spruce a couple of things to make it um, digestible, and B, exciting. But to think that a renowned, famous performer who has performed at the Super Bowl, who has like unlimited options to do things, projects, hobbies, ideas, decides to group up with a fairly well known, niche but competent director to showcase this new story. And story is a bit rough there, because we're again reflecting on moments that this creator, this artist, has decided to bring to light. I'm not a Weekend fan for the most part. I'll never forget the one party I was at where the girl I was talking to, I guess, saw me click like a like on The Weekend on Facebook. Yes, it was way back then. And she's like, she mentioned it. She was just like, "Oh, I heard you're a fan of The Weekend. You like The Weekend?" And us being at a party at The Weekend was like, "Oh yeah, I love The Weekend." It's a great time. But I believe what she was actually referring to or asking was, do you have like depression or something? Like, are you okay mentally or whatever? Because understanding what this guy's songs are now, right? They decided to pull specific song titles with the clear intent of decoding and deciphering what has been told this whole time out in the open, without most people understanding what was being said. I reflect on how, when, let's call us Americans, are out there listening to Japanese J-pop, and they'll be vibing, they'll be bopping their heads, but if you can actually translate the lyrics, they might be talking about some serious things, and the uneducated American would just be like, "Oh yeah, this is Bob," while we're singing about depression and, like, tendencies and stuff like that. So it's interesting, akin to that, but almost on a more diabolical level, because it's our language. Uh, well, considering the gentleman is Canadian, it's the language that we share. So maybe there's something to be said about that. But this is different. I'm not trying to hype it up or anything, but it's the way this gentleman has decided to portray this story is very different from any random ass Hollywood director. And that's what is important to me, because we have this collaboration that's inspired by music, by a moment, by emotions, rather than, say, a Hollywood blockbuster that is looking to rake in money from the Borderlands movie, because video games are a hot commodity at this moment. So when I say we are at an interesting point, I mean that there are performers who are still not done telling their story, who are interested and are willing to invest in a form of storytelling beyond their professional careers. That is where we're at. So the question becomes, what is the story? Success might be the biggest, like, joke or carrot on the stick, however you want to place that one. You're raised and inclined to believe that once you run up that ladder, once you shove everybody beneath you and you hit that echelon, that you will have freedom, independence, your own self governance. And while some of that is true, from the luxuries of being the funnel at the end of the cup, it becomes very apparent very quickly that in order to maintain that air or that lifestyle or that sensibility, that you have to give parts of yourself away. It is not a one-sided transaction. There are moments, there are pieces of you, there are emotions that you are constantly giving to either create, to destroy, to ponder. And one can only imagine how much shittier one would be if one had access to a shitload of assets to no longer have a sense of like consequences, to hit a point that you can stop caring about your actions, because deep inside one starts to believe that your actions are either worth more or you can just wave things off with a blank check. It is a world that we have created. But with every price, with every signature, you are leaving a piece of yourself. And it's what you do with those interactions, who you try to share this with, that will come back to transform you. It makes you who you are. People say you are the same as the 4 closest friends you have, or something like that. Like if you have 4 smoker friends, you're likely to be the 5th, because misery loves company, and it is too easy, as Cardi is saying right now. Something that was very, very interesting in my perspective was that while there is this whole idea of this person going through the emotions of like being this emotional wreck and just plowing through the moments, we see another side of the coin. And I'm not sure if the Jenna Ortega character was supposed to be this person that left a lasting impression, or if they were just a random IM friend or acquaintance that happened to make this all spiral out of control. Because to her credit, Mrs. Ortega's credit, she is able to give a sense of competence while also expressing how insane she really is. It's a fine line, of course, but let me tell you, it is the year 2025, And ladies and gentlemen, we have yanderes in Hollywood. I always thought we'd come to this point. I just never knew it'd be so soon. But this is gonna be the interesting point. I I don't know how accurate certain details are in this reiteration of a moment in time. But what they decide to present does does open a lot of questions and creates a lot of elephants in the room that need to be addressed. So, where do we go from here? How do we react? And how do we choose to interact with each other going forward? I know I'm speculating a bit too much on this, but I'm speaking from a Californian cultivated internet observant pop culture aficionado who is recognizing that in this moment there is so much distortion between what we say we want to be and what we're actually doing. And I mean that in just a general idea of what is the future? What are we doing this for? And do we have something to work towards, to strive towards if, for example, a certain group of male individuals cannot find hope in an idea of being able to find one person to settle down with and believing that even if that person, those relationships, those moments, those arguments are going to come, but with no hope that all the time, the effort, the understanding that one puts in will be able to be appreciated, reciprocated, or even cared about. If it is the will, and if it is where we are, and if this is what we wanted, then why aren't we happy? So, Hurry Up Tomorrow is a weird film, but because it's weird and different, and because it decides to do things in its own manner, it brings a different weight to what is being expressed. Things can become extreme, and unfortunately you could be me and you could actually be whatever. When the handcuffs came out, I audibly heard a yes in the background. Somebody said that, I don't know who, but it's what we do, right? No one's saying that you can't be this person, you can't express yourself in certain manners, but it is that question of where are we going to find that peace, that safe place within us, if we can assume that there are no secrets kept within our bedrooms, if everything is being leaked or shared or posted, or the privacy and that intimacy in that relationship is what we have lost. But hey, I'm not a world famous singer who worked at the Super Bowl. I'm just a fairly good cook who worked at the Super Bowl. But if that interests you, and real talk, dude, um, if you're curious about what a yandere would be in a movie, we're here. We're here. I've been seeing the trend of Creed being Hajime no Ippo, Sinners being like this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure vampire thing, Tom Cruise and all his freaking Last Samurai films, and now this kind of giving me hard Mirai Nikki kind of yandere. That pop culture is not just reserved for the nerds, the geeks. You have The Weekend playing Cuphead in this movie. Pop culture is us. It is the sound, it is the music, it is the harmony that we create. So let's take care of that. Sydney Sweetie, get the fuck away from video games. I don't think you've ever picked up a fucking DS in your life. And if you have, show your stuff. But that's it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I give this credit. And I'm impressed as a person who loves cinematography and films and absorbs every angle that is being shown so I can replicate that in my own photos or out in the wild. I respect what is being done here. I don't know what corners were cut. I don't know what truths were being covered, but if the message that I picked up off of this was something shaking that needed to be expressed, then I respect the man for taking the steps forward and his team. And Jenna Ortega, man. Amen. But that's it for me. It's been a good time. If you like that, if you like this, hit the subscribe. Have fun. And I hope to catch you all in the next one. But until then, stay safe. Yes. Watch Final Destination first, so your brain can start being wired to like be ready to like anticipate things, and then go out and date Jenna Ortega so like she can't catch you on the jump. That's at the end of the day, right? Peace. Peace to all mankind. But until then, ja, mata ne.